like to introduce our speaker for today, who's Mr. Rahul Gujar. Rahul has 24 plus years of experience in the IT industry with a strong product development expertise. He worked as consultant with some of the leading organizations in India, US, and UK, specializing in software as a service, product development, and cloud technologies. His domain expertise is in telecom, healthcare, and financial services, and believes in lean agile and DevOps as key enablers in achieving business agility. Rahul passionately believes in SAFe and has been a SAFe change agent for over the past 5 years, helping organizations with value stream identifications, ART launches, and mentoring various roles towards the successful adoption of SAFe. And without any further delay, I'd like to hand over the session to Rahul.
Thank you, Sushil. Welcome everyone to the webinar on product development with Scaled Agile Framework. And thanks for the lovely introduction. Let's get into why today, we have some issues in terms of product development. The whole world is moving towards product-based economy. And one of the things that we are all seeing today around us is that we are truly and firmly in the age of software, right? I mean, anything we do is touched by technology. Yeah, the way you probably make payments to anything that you buy, right? You probably want to hail a taxi, you just reach out to your phone. You want to order food, you reach out to your phone, right? Everything is touched by technology. And one of the key things in terms of this fast, rapid paced age of software is you need to do rapid development. And it's quite obvious that many of our industries are currently looking at agile as one of the methods or one of the ways to improve flow, one of the ways to bring about that change that is required, the quick transformations that is needed. And as we know, right, agile has been there in the industry for many number of years. It's a very simple process, but we always say that it's very difficult to master as well. It remains to be seen that how many of our companies would always say that yes, we have been doing agile, but the kind of benefit that we were expecting, we think we are still far away from there. So agile has been there, we have been doing it, but of course we have challenges when we are doing it. The challenges become multiple challenges will come when if you're looking at faster development with an ever increasing backlog. So let's see what are some of the challenges in today's space, in product development space. And I would like to refer to one of the books written by, I would say, one of the gurus of product development space, Donald Reinertsen. A wonderful book is written called as The Principles of Product Development Flow. And he says that this is more than 2-3 decades old book, but I think whatever principles he has written are relevant to even today's world. And he says one of the top 10 problems, if you see what many companies and many people in the product development space people face, is they're not able to define which is more important item to do than something else, right? They fail to quantify the economics of agile development. Blindness to queues. They have ever increasing queues. By queues, what I mean is the backlogs. They have ever increasing backlogs. And they believe in efficiency than backlog management. That blindness of queues is killing. Variability. We all think about variable things. The world, as we say, right, it constantly changes. That means there is that variability. So how do we manage this variability? Large batch sizes. So some of these problems we see in today's world, and I would like to stress on some of these challenges in product development space. Some of you may be coming from product development. Some of you are probably one of the implementers of the agile methods. And one of the often faced problems by product managers, product owners is we have large queues. The queues, the backlogs keeps ever increasing. As you start interacting with your customers, with see what happens in the market and trying to be ahead in the market, we start adding your stories, the requirements, and of course the backlog keeps growing. And typically these are the problems. How many times you will see product managers, product owners are not able to manage queues? We have huge backlog items how much it would take for me to deliver this whole thing. And again, I would like to quote a nice thing from that book. It says that only 2% of the product developers measure queues. We let it happen. We let the queues grow without understanding the cost of these queues. And there is a tendency that the moment we bring about long queues with large number of items to the teams, we introduce a lot of variability as well. The variability comes in because now the cycle, the time taken to deliver this whole lot of the bigger queue, yeah, also becomes bigger, right? The longer the queue, the longer the time. That's what happens. So we need to manage, we need to find some ways on how we can manage these queues. And what we do, one of the things that we typically do is we have large queues, so let's add more people, right? Because obviously you need to finish that queue in a short amount of time. So instead of managing that scope, now we start to manage resources, or I would never like to call resources, I would like to say the people, right? We need to bring in more people. That's one way of managing of queues that we see largely, but that's not the correct way. And more importantly, when we introduce something in our queues, in our backlogs, we fail to understand which is a more important item over something else. We fail to prioritize. And many prioritization techniques have been used by our product teams, right? You will see many teams use must-have techniques, must have, should have, could have, right? Or sometimes there are some product managers who would probably use the ROI factor, return on investment. It's so difficult for us to determine a return on investment for a user story. I don't know, right? I've just thought about a new requirement. I've put that requirement as a probably a feature, and I don't understand, what's the cost associated with that. And coming from the principles of product development, we fail, yeah, understanding queue size, which means that we need to understand the cost of delay. There are items which will cost you more if you delay it further. Imagine you say that, okay, I have an idea today and it's going to save me cost of $1 million in the next 1 year or so. It's a brilliant idea. You want to work on that idea. So each passing day that you don't implement that idea, you're already incurring cost. We need to measure cost of delay for those bigger items. And unless we do that, right, we cannot, the prioritization, the economic prioritization will suffer. So these are again certain quotes coming from that book. Only 15% of the product developers know how to quantify cost of delay. The other problem that we face, variability. Now variability is going to kill us, right? I mean, you go to the market, you talk to your customers, you do your Gemba walks, you get to hear a lot of ideas. Great. Yes, we have captured all those ideas as your bigger features and epics, and you want to implement it. And at some point in time, the product managers and product teams start feeling the pain that, hey, since we have a lot of items and there's a lot of variability in the process, how do we manage this variability? But one thing to understand is variability is required. That's the root of innovation. If we decide not to have any variability, okay, let's fix our scope, so that let's fix our scope, let's only do on what we know without taking any new things. That means you're limiting variability. Yeah. And you start working on it, so that means that you fix your designs, you fix innovation, you're not open to any innovative work that comes in. So variability is good in my opinion, and that's what Don also talks about, that variability is good. Without variability, there will be no innovation. It's as good as saying that I don't want to do innovation. And remember, we are in the age of software, so you have no choice but to innovate. If you don't innovate, you'll start perishing. How do we manage this variability? You let your queues grow, you let a lot of variable factors to come in, and then we start thinking about cycle times as one of the proxy variables to measure. Instead of measuring value delivered, we are trying to measure how we improve on the cycle time of those items. Yes, it's okay. We are not suggesting that cycle time is bad. We should not measure it. We should not improve on it. Absolutely, we should improve on it. But that's not a measure of what the team has delivered. It's an efficiency value. It's not a metric in terms of what finally the teams were able to valuably deliver something that the customer needed. It starts with variability. And remember, variability is going to occur. How do we manage that? The other problem that we see is, yeah, and of course, with that variability, how do I manage that change? And many times you'll see that the product teams, the product managers, product owners, they themselves becomes bottleneck. Why? Because they know too much about the product. You are not there on few days or certain days you are not around, yeah, because you're holding it too close to your chest. Of course, we all talk about refinements and all, but a day comes when you're not around. Teams have questions around those items, those stories, those features, and there's no one to back it up. Why? Because we keep it too close. No one else understands the problem better than me. You have never thought about decentralization, and these are practical problems in the product development space today. We don't sync up with others. We keep it close to our chest, probably for some various reasons, I would say. And decentralization is key. If you want to reduce chaos that's happening around, one of the key things is decentralize. Now, when we think about building large solutions, right, requiring a lot of different teams, different roles come into play, we fail to understand one thing, that everyone has to have a common understanding of the product or solution that we need to build. We fail to understand one critical lean thinking concept or lean thinking principle, which talks about systems thinking. It's as good as, I always give this example of an F1 race. Many of you probably are watching F1 race, right? And you'll see that even after 60, 70 laps, the difference that comes, between the first, second, and third is hardly probably some microseconds or, few seconds. It's not a sprint, it's not a 100-meter dash where you'll still get those kind of figures. But this is a race which is taking a larger amount of time, and still we have problems that we know the difference between the one who is finishing first and second is hardly few seconds. We can't simply say that, okay, let's just go and change change the engine, or make some changes on the tuning of the engine, or let's improve the aerodynamics of this car. You need to think holistically. You need to think the entire stuff. Think about, see the whole. That's what we say, see the whole. Imagine that, okay, this is a product that you want to develop. Yeah, you want to say, hey, I want to come up with the best television in the world. One of the ways is, of course, you don't need to reinvent the wheel always. So one of the ways is, of course, you see which is the best product in the market today, and you probably want to improve on it. You open that television. Yeah, of course, you get all the circuitry around, and you try to replicate it. And many of the problems that we see, or we feel that what we see at surface is the way we need to do. Systems thinking is not that. Systems thinking is all about that the entire system is built through all these different components, and the flow of value across these components. That's what you need to understand, not just the high level things that are there. And that's crucial in product development space. It's not just only for the product owners and product managers, but how we build about this lean thinking mindset, this mindset about of systems thinking to everyone in the team who are delivering your products and solutions. And remember, it's not one team, but there are multiple teams involved in this product development space. As you all probably understand today, that we have a lot of dependencies across teams, which means there are different teams involved, with each team having their own skill sets, capabilities. So if you want to understand systems thinking, you not only need to look at the value streams, right? This is a critical concept that we all should bring about in product development space. This is a simple value stream. The way probably your support value stream, where a customer probably opens a ticket, then they find an issue, they open a ticket, right? It goes to one of your support teams. They probably do some triaging, and yeah, it's a critical problem, so it probably move to your L3 and L4 support teams, which is your development teams, right? They try to gets added in the queue, they fix the problem, you deploy the problem to production. This is a simple value stream. But remember that in terms of product development, if we are to apply systems thinking, remember that there are multiple teams involved and you need to understand the operational value stream across how we are building the product. And we feel that, some of these problems that we have just gone through, right? We have seen, that we have large batches, right? We there is going to be variability. We need to quantify the cost of delivery. We need to quantify how we prioritize the queue so that we make the best economic decisions and take up this systems thinking. And that's why we feel that this is where scale agile framework could help. The scale agile framework for enterprises, it's been there in the market since more than 10 years now. We started, it was first marketed in 2011. So it's not a new framework, first of all. And it's one of the leading frameworks because it is based upon proven practices. There's a forum, there's a community, and in that community, we do discuss about what are the upcoming trends. Based on those trends, the framework improves of itself. It is an evolving framework. And this framework has got a lot of components that will help us to bring about what we call as business agility. Agility across the enterprise, not just about your IT teams and development teams, but how do we closely cooperate between different teams with different roles? And we cannot take this siloed approach. We need to bring about some non-IT teams, business teams also involved in agility space, have that lean agile thinking mindset. Isn't our HR team, think about HR for instance, one of the very critical functions. Of course, they're not delivering value directly to the customer, but are they not supporting our teams, our IT or software organizations and software teams? The way they support is by providing the right skilled person at the right time. So if we are thinking about bringing in agility across the board, business agility as we call it, we need lot of teams, everyone having that lean agile mindset. And it scaled agile is based upon lean agile at scale. Yeah, I mean the basis, the foundation of scaled agile is that there are certain, it is based upon principles. Now we believe in these principles because principles becomes your guiding force. You can apply these principles in all different industries. It's you may say that safe is a little prescriptive. Then my thing is, okay, which framework, which agile framework is not prescriptive? Every framework is prescriptive. And the more you try to follow these principles, the more you achieve business agility. And as you can see, right, some of these principles where we talk about how to manage variability, how to limit your batch size, principle number 6, principle 3 about variability, systems thinking, understand the whole, take an economic view. It's all about cost of delay and how do you prioritize using some of these measures like cost of delay. What comes into effect when we consider cost of delays? So if you understand these principles the right way, you may be from product teams, you may not, different roles. We believe in these principles. Understanding of the principles will help you to achieve business agility. Beyond these principles, we talked about these value streams, right? We talked about systems thinking. It promotes what we call as value stream networks. The hierarchy exists, right? We all have our different departments and divisions. What it tries to do is bring about an additional, we call it as the dual operating system in SAFE. An operating system where the people in hierarchy or those different departments now start thinking about how we deliver value fast and what network do I need to deliver that, which means possibly taking assistance or involving all different teams in the organization. So it's an operating system based where we are able to deliver value quickly to your customers and not only survive but thrive in today's age, digital age. The framework is, I mean, if you look at it, it looks pretty complex, but I'll tell you what, it's not. Many of the things that you see in this framework do exist in large enterprises. And we feel that, we can bring about that guidance, that step-by-step guidance on, how we can think about agile and lean at scale. Now we started this whole webinar, it's about product development space. So obviously, where are these roles? So we do have these different roles in SAFe, and we feel that when you're trying to understand the customer needs, it also delves a little bit about on design thinking. We need to understand their needs. We need to design better solutions. Design thinking is a key approach in doing that. Now, how does SAFe promote that? Some of these approaches probably are well known to you. You may be doing it today as well. But there's a big emphasis on design thinking approaches in SAFe. Because I believe that if you're not able to capture what the customer needs are, if you're not able to define that hypothesis, the benefit that we are probably going to give to the customer, bad input will give you bad output. If you're not able to define it well, obviously you're not going to produce something well, right, at the end of your value stream. And that's why we feel design thinking definitely helps. Yeah? We believe in customer centricity. Customer is at the center of product development. That's what we say. So I would say that this is one of the certification of POs and PMs that you can consider. It's not just about these roles, but how these roles get involved in a lot of these, as I mentioned, design thinking approaches. How do they do visioning? Because visioning, we need visioning so that we align everyone together, right? Unless we are aligned, we are all like bunch of teams running in all different directions without alignment. And for such alignments, there are certain events in scaled agile that we promote. For instance, PI planning. Now, what happens in PI planning? You need to understand that why this is brought about in SAFe, so that we align ourselves, so that we're able to manage our backlogs. That prioritization has to be done based upon what we call as cost of delay. The other thing is about how do we limit what's happening around us. You need to manage your queues. You can't simply let your queues grow to an extent where you start panicking, right? You start introducing a number of people now start doing it, the same queues, right? That's not the way. Understand your limiting whip will help you to reduce your queues, and yeah, will be able to focus on few things at a time. It involves PO sync. There are a lot of sync meetings, sync events that happens. That's crucial when you try to do such certain things at scale, right? And SAFe, although we are bringing in some of these new practices, that doesn't mean that we forget about what we have done in the past, right? It definitely SAFe definitely complements what we are doing at team levels with Scrum and with Kanbans and all different teams that we have. It promotes it complements that. It's just that those frameworks of Scrum, Kanban, they were very team specific, team based frameworks. It brought about good collaboration within a team, but it didn't talk so much about how cross teams collaborate. That's where SAFe helps. So if you're thinking cross team collaboration, if you're thinking how do we manage this big queues, consider SAFe as one of the frameworks in your organization. And I would like to say that it's a small presentation from my side. I mean, I thought POPM is one of the wonderful classes that we deliver. This is something which you can consider, although your organization may or may not be doing SAFe, but we take you through not just this roles, but what is this scaled agile framework, and what is your role as a product owner or a product manager in a larger enterprise. You cannot have a view of, hey, I'm a product owner, I'm just talking about to my teams. Yeah, you're getting involved into your sprint planning and all such sessions. Okay, great. But how much of cross team collaboration you're doing as a product owner and product manager? Now that's important. So guys, we have a feel free to join one of our trainings here. So we have some upcoming classes coming up in April and May as well. So we are gold partners. KnowledgeHut is a gold partner. So yeah, we have a number of people we have trained over so many years. If you ask me personally, I've trained more than 2,000 people just in SAFe. Right. So I think it was a short presentation on what challenges we face and what possibly you can definitely consider SAFe as one of the frameworks to help you.